Welcome to the Work in Real Life podcast. I'm Jenny Winspear.
And I'm Marcus Verrell.
And today we're going to be talking about networking and work events because this is our Christmas special and Christmas parties are approaching. So you're all going to be getting drunk with your work colleagues or not drinking, potentially. But I started looking up some stats around networking. And do you network often, Marcus?
I wouldn't say it's something I do a lot of.
Okay. Well, you might want to start doing more because research has shown that if you network more regularly, it is actually correlated with not only satisfaction in your job, but also salary. Mm-hmm. So the more networking that you do, the more likely you are to succeed. And they actually looked at this it was a study over time that they looked at where they measured like the amount of networking that you did. I think it was something to do like the quality of relationships that you develop after networking and your career satisfaction, all correlated. So if the more you do of it, the more likely you are to be successful, satisfied and paid better.
Right, I need to start going to more events. Don't I? Oh dear.
How do you feel about networking?
Not great.
Okay,
I mean,
why?
Networking events in general for me are a major source of anxiety. I now have severely sweaty palms just thinking about going to networking event. But I think the type of event has a very large bearing on whether or not I get anxious about it. Okay. I fully understand the importance of networking as a marketeer, networking, building a network, a community and all that sort of stuff. I understand the value of it and I do think it's a very valuable thing to do and I would advise anyone to go and do it. But networking events in general I'd almost go as far as saying it's like a workplace ick of mine.
Oh, wow. Are you introverted? Like, I would say you're pretty extrovert.
I don't know. I think it's just I'm so conscious of appearing as an idiot, I guess. Or like, I think I'm deep down, I'm a people pleaser.
Okay.
So the idea of going into a room full of strangers and maybe I feel the pressure of having to please all these
these new people building their first ever impression of you.
Yeah,
I can see why that can be daunting.
So that's daunting. I also don't really have like a skill set or like a toolkit that I can go to in my head, like a first group of questions or like something to refer to and go, it's fine, I've got an event, I know what I'm going to say, I know how to meet and introduce people. But yeah, the underlying theme is definitely like I'm very worried that people think I'm a bit of a dick. So that's the overwhelming feeling.
Maybe that's the part of the attraction. You're not just a boring, stale, guy in a suit talking about finance.
It could be that, which is ironic really because most people think I'm relatively confident and borderline arrogant, which would make you think, oh yeah, you must love networking events and parties and things like that. But no, it's a bit of... Don't love it. How about you?
Have you done too many? Like, have you been forced to do many?
No.
No,
and I think that's why I don't like it. And I know we're going to get onto our kind of stories later, I just don't... I like being in a room full of people having kind of conversations like we are, where you're getting to know someone, you're talking about interesting stuff. You're not there talking like small talk. Do you know what I mean? If I
can have that at networking events.
Yeah, maybe I'm just overthinking
so I quite like them, but I don't know if I've changed over time because I have to network all the time.
Yeah, I've seen your LinkedIn. I swear you're always
it's ridiculous.
Just at events.
People have actually said to me, "Your face is there." I know
your default setting is at event. Yeah.
But I do quite enjoy it, and I actually think because of the reasons that you're saying, you like having just regular conversations with a normal person. I find that at events. I think because I run a business and I'm trying to sell a product, for me, I get a lot out of conversations that either help me with understand my business, how to do things better. And I find that at networking events, I do get that kind of feedback, but also meeting prospective clients or people that are interested in your product or getting feedback on what you're trying to sell. That's what I quite like about them. There are stuffy networking events. I've been to some terrible ones in the past, but generally I quite enjoy the conversations that I have at these kind of events. I do think that networking externally is quite different to a work event with just your colleagues though. Like, wouldn't you say like a work event with colleagues, you quite enjoy that? I feel like your workplace is quite fun.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the team you're working with. And I know in previous podcasts I've alluded to my hatred of going bowling with the team, but I've actually slightly changed my view on that since I've been working at Snap, because I feel like I share a lot of values with everyone that works there.
Yeah.
Tom's going to love that I've said that, but like I feel like I share a lot of the values with the team, so like it feels a lot more like hanging around with work colleagues.
I've seen you baking cookies.
Yeah, we've done all sorts.
pumpkins.
Now we're playing football. It's all
work events.
It's all going on. But I prefer networking online, but you seem to be banging the drum for kind of in real life networking events. Like what would you say is the main benefit of the kind of in-person approach?
Okay, so I actually looked some stuff up because I was like, I need some stats.
You got some stats on this?
I got some stats on this. Yeah. So let me read off my thing so I don't get it wrong. 68% of individuals prefer networking in person rather than virtually.
Right.
So you're of the minority. And 95% of professionals agree that face-to-face connections are key for successful long-term business relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. But I'd much rather be like, meet someone, give them a card and be like, let's go for a coffee next week.
I've got a stat on business cards as well.
Are you a digital business card or a physical digital?
I've actually got a digital one. However,
they never work, do they?
I like getting physical ones. I'm more likely to contact someone if they've given me a physical business card. But 72% of people will get the first impression about your company from a business card. And if it's tacky or looks cheap, 39% will decide not to do business with you.
That high?
Yeah.
From a card?
From a card.
Wow. It's like, is it American Psycho? Is that the film where they like talk about the cards and they're like...
You've lost me.
You get like embossed cards.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've seen them.
Do you know what I mean? It's like a nice skew whiff on a question here. But what would your perfect business card look like? Touch and stuff like that, like feel like...
Yeah,
look
it has
like
to be thick.
Thick.
I reckon.
So thickness of card.
It matters. It matters. And maybe like a matte, maybe eco-friendly.
Oh, okay.
I like a bit recycled.
Yeah, it'd be good to know it's recycled.
Yeah, it says on the back.
Thickness, I think, is also key. Embossed.
Doesn't say made in China.
Yeah. Nothing against anything made in China, just due to the sort of shipping issue. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that people, thought that much about that, but I guess
we've gone off on a tangent.
No, but it's a good tangent. It's an interesting tangent.
I'm so glad you were interested. Okay, so you said you like networking online. So what are your kind of tips for people who can network online? Because obviously it's a key way to reach people, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's been relatively fruitful. Networking online has been relatively fruitful for me, mainly because I find it quite easy to kind of find more like-minded people like myself, especially in the marketing sphere. I've definitely networked with quite a few people. A couple that I've actually connected with have ended up, coming to me with potential work and things like that. It's also obviously global, so it's a lot easier to connect to people from across the globe. I also think it gives you a really good opportunity to build your self-brand more so, and actually spend a bit more time thinking about It's quite controlled though, don't you think? It is quite, it can be, but I think that obviously there's pros and cons, but I think the capacity to internationally connect is massive. I think a lot of people are obviously spending time on social medias at the moment, and LinkedIn is a major one because you can kind of be on it at work and get away with it without being told off for being on social media. So that helps. But I think just the fact that you can kind of build a community and actually have people joining in and starting conversations, and building like a network online is really useful, especially when you're basically a click away from your service or being able to meet someone new. So I quite like that. I see what you're getting at, and I can see the value of reaching lots of different people through one post, and not when you go to an event, sometimes you can get stuck talking to just the wrong people. Not that they're wrong and that they're not interesting, but if you're going there to sell your services or anything, and then you immediately meet with someone who isn't aligned to what you do, you feel too rude to just leave. Whereas online you're like, online, no. Move on to the next. I mean, the downside of that obviously is online that I probably get at least 3 or 4 DMs a day being like the hard sell, which you can't really do in person, which makes in person more human, more personable, more enjoyable. To a certain extent. I'm full of them. Go on. So if you are selling something,
and you've met someone in person as opposed to approach them online, you're 24% more likely to make the sale if you have met them in person.
Yeah, I can see why. Like, that just makes sense, doesn't it? Like, I think meeting someone, I just quite like the buffer of online to kind of pre-meet, and then, like, I'm quite happy to connect with someone online and then go and meet them.
Yeah.
Like, I've had people ask me, like, about networking events that they're attending in the UK that were to do with marketing, and they're like, are you coming? Should we meet for a coffee? And I was like, unfortunately, I'm not going. But I really appreciated that. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
Just knowing that.
You like the first connection to be, let's suss each other out, but without having to commit.
Yeah, well, and then
to
I've
a conversation
got a whole
properly.
List of, yeah, for sure. And then I've got a whole list of stuff that I've already spoken to them about that I can kind of bring up. But then, obviously, the counter to that is like, you get there, you've realised that you've had all the conversation that you're ever going to possibly have, and you're sort of like, I've now committed to being at this networking event with you, and I now can't get rid of you.
Just for those of you listening, Marcus just flicked his card as if he was
shooing them away. Yeah, that's really
okay.
rude.
Well, I'm going to divert off our question list because I think this opens up a good conversation. So, at a networking event,
right,
if you're stuck talking to someone you really don't want to talk to, what are your tricks for leaving the conversation without offending someone?
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I would go for the traditional fake phone call. Oh, my phone. Is that my phone? Or maybe the holder. Oh, is that the time?
Oh,
so I've got to go.
You're terrible at this.
Yeah, but I just don't know what I would. I mean, what do you do?
Okay, so I'll tell you my tricks. So, and this is going to be awkward at any networking event.
Well, everyone's going to know
now. Very weak bladder at networking events.
Oh, okay. So
always going to the toilet. Sorry, guys. Excuse me. I'm just going to nip the loo. That's fine. Drinking, which is dangerous, right? Having a bottle of water is helpful, but usually at networking events you've got a glass of wine, and I do like to drink a glass of wine at a networking event, but if you finish it, you've got to go and refill it. the bad times is when you've got people going around refilling your drinks.
Yeah, so you can't get away. Why do they do that?
That's one of my key things. But I also end up getting quite drunk if I'm in bad conversations because I'll try and get to the end of the drink.
I think that's part of my ick of like networking events, is the fact that it's usually like outside of work time, which you've spoken about in the previous podcast, which given fair warning, fair enough. But if it's like a Wednesday and I'm out sort of socializing but networking, I will feel like I want a drink because that's just kind of what you do. And this and I would obviously never normally, not throwing shade at anyone that's having a glass of wine on a Wednesday night, do what you want, but I wouldn't normally do that. So I kind of, the obligation to feel as if I have to drink. Again, I'm building this all up in my head as something I feel like I'd have to do. Right. But I would never be there on a Wednesday night at home being like, right, I'm going to sink a few glasses, a few glasses of champers just to take the edge off.
And do you know what? Actually, it is bad how work events are so strongly associated with booze. Like, and I, don't get me wrong, love a glass of wine. I quite like going to network. It's one of the pros of going to network. You get free alcohol sometimes, but like, it excludes so many people and it puts people off for that reason. Like, there needs to be something done about.
Well, because I'd be, not that I'm saying I don't think there should be alcohol at networking events. I think there should, because it can be a good icebreaker. But if I went to an event, I quite like when sometimes you see an event and it's like a breakfast.
And
it's like, that you're going and you're going to have a coffee and a croissant, and then you're kind of starting your day with meeting a few people and chatting. Then I still get the whole like, oh my god, I've got to chat to strangers. But I know all the other stuff, it's not outside of work hours. It's not, I'm not having a drink on a Wednesday. All of that stuff sort of floats away.
I think we should move to a world where networking events have like activities.
Maybe like a ball pit. Twister.
Oh, amazing. I don't know, that might be a bit weird.
What else? Because I've written down here how would you improve networking events?
I guess it depends like what type of networking. Like if it's like a lunch and learn type thing, where you're going to hear content. I've been to so many who just like speak off a slide. And like the speaker will go read off a slide and stuff, and it just kills like any type of conversation. Whereas when you've got a really engaging speaker and stuff, one of the ways to then follow up after that kind of lunch and learn is like, oh, how amazing was that speaker? Like, oh yeah, that was really good. It's like an easy way in. Whereas I think the slide reading just kills all vibe.
Yeah, when it's a bit more like a lecture rather than an actual like
Very
engaging
boring they don't
sort
feel.
of.
I also find that like doing focus group type activities. I know everyone hates the idea of like, oh, we actually have to do some work and this came along to like have a lunch. But actually getting people to talk to other people on their table is a great way with an activity. It's a great way to get people.
That would definitely be on my list of, because I think one of the networking events I have actually been to, and I got a bit of a horror story about that later on that we can talk about. But one of the good aspects of that it was a email marketing event held by the kind of the CRM company that sells the software for emails. And what we actually did as an exercise in small groups was like review other people's email campaigns, but with strangers. It was like, right guys, time to sit down, all have a conversation about what you do. But it was just such a good icebreaker to meet people. And I think more events should do it. And also like the simplest little thing that I think makes a difference as well is just having like a name tag on.
Yeah, so much so.
Just so you can be like, oh, hey, Jeff, or
and also you don't get that awkward like, oh, I've met this person so many times and I've forgotten their name. And they've just got it, it's there, and you're like, oh, thank God for name tags.
Yeah, and I think it's just a good kind of like conversation starter, you know, just to be like, oh, hi, I now know you by name. You're not just a random stranger.
Yeah. So do you think that you have to actually attend events to network then, or obviously you've intimated that we can do online networking, but like, do you think you actually have to be in person to like develop that relationship at some point?
I think at some point it's probably something that you should be able to do and do relatively well. I don't think it's the be all and end all. I think it's probably very industry specific as well. Like if you're in like sort of recruitment or sales or marketing, I'm just listing off every industry. Then I think that there is obviously a value in doing it. Like you alluded to there with the stats. Do I think it's going to like make or break your career? No. But I think building a network in general, not necessarily going to networking events, is important.
Okay, so glad you raised this because I also have some stuff around this. So I looked at business owners and the way that they do networking, and 70% of them did their networking online as their like main way to network. 51% did parties and social events. Conferences, 49%. Volunteering was another way to network, 37%. Industry functions, another way to network, 37%. Bars or restaurants was at 38. But then three random ones, which I never would have picked as ways to network with people and do business: the daily commute, the gym, and on an airplane.
Well, funny you say on an airplane in terms of networking. The first job I ever got, as in after university, after I graduated, I was circling Jersey, not being able to land, Jersey being Jersey. The woman next to me, Anne Dolan, I believe is her name, who worked at Clint Costals, who was the owner. She was doing a presentation on marketing, I believe. I'd just finished doing a marketing internship, got chatting to her, landed the next day because we couldn't actually land, and she was like, oh yeah, why don't you pop into the office and give your CV? And that's how I got my first job after uni, so on a plane.
There you go.
Yeah, jobs on a plane.
Coin the term out.
But how are people networking on their commute?
Yeah, I don't know. Must be thinking about like UK, London, trains, buses. They do long commutes.
Yeah, but no one talks to each other on the tube and stuff, do they?
Everyone's looking at their phone.
Headphones in.
Maybe they do.
I mean, I back the gym as well. I think the gym networking is probably quite good. I think you're more likely to be able to network with people when you're in an environment that you feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
So if you're you're doing something that's a shared interest with a group of people, get chatting to them. More likely than not, they're going to have a skill set or do something of interest that you can maybe benefit off, or they can benefit off yours. So I think for me, that's a way better place to actually network rather than standing there with like a champagne, being like, oh, hello.
Okay, I want to ask you some kind of tough would you rather questions now, because I feel like there's things about networking which make your palms sweat.
Yeah, like definitely.
Anybody. So let's debate some of them. Would you rather get huge sweat patches when presenting or forget all of your speech while you're on stage and you've got no notes?
I would probably I'd go with the speech because I feel like I could wing that. I could definitely wing that. But if I was in like a blue Oxford shirt, strong look, But if you've got like, how severe are we talking about these patches, by the way? Big.
Yeah.
Real big.
Yeah, you can see them even when your arms are down.
Right. That big. Yeah. I mean, you're probably in a day and age where people wouldn't judge as much as... I think they silently maybe would.
Like I would try. Yeah,
there'd be photos. You'd be that guy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it'd probably be quite hard to get rid of that association for a while. So I'd go, definitely speech and just wing it.
Okay.
You know, just go off a meandering story about your success and hope that it lands.
I would love to be there.
What about you? What would you prefer?
I actually don't know. I wrote the question and I don't actually know. I think, I'd probably wing it as well.
Yeah.
I think,
Why not? That's what most people are doing speeches.
We're so vain.
Yeah.
Can't handle
Are we millennials?
Yeah. Okay, so would you rather consistently suffer from imposter syndrome or be so introverted that networking terrifies you, which I'm sure a lot of people are?
I think I have both of those right now. Like, I definitely have imposter syndrome quite a lot, particularly at events. And I feel like I'm definitely quite introverted at events that I hate it.
Okay, so actually you're winning with this question because you only have to pick one.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go for I can deal with imposter syndrome, so I'd probably go with the not feeling...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The not feeling anxious.
I quite like feeling ready and open and excited for some events. I generally do get excited for some work events.
Yeah. I mean, I feel better now. I've got a bit more of a network, but
that's definitely played a part as well. It's terrifying. I actually went to London recently and I knew no one. Like, obviously in Jersey we have a small community. Went to London, knew no one, and it was so intimidating walking into the room and just being like, okay, where do I start?
What's your icebreaker? What's your...
What, like my intro?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I went to a conference once and it talked about like finding your purpose, like so that when you introduce yourself, there's like this hook of like, I make people happy in the workplace. That's lofty and like rubbish, but like something like that. And people come up with this good stuff. I go for the classic, like, oh yeah, I run a startup business and I'm a psychologist. Like, it depends on who I'm talking to and what their relevance is and if I know anything about them. But yeah, it tends to just be like, hi, like this is what I do for work. And
out of interest, why wouldn't you go with something? Well, I suppose it's a work networking event, isn't it? Because I find the fact that you've said, I'm a psychologist, I'd be like straight on that. I'd be like, oh yeah, Sigmund Freud, what we're going to talk, like, can I have a genuine interest in that? Whereas if someone just presents me with a work title that I'm probably don't know. You know what I mean? If someone says to me, I'm a senior associate, I'm like, sorry? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what job titles do, like across the board. Like,
consultant.
If I said,
I'm a consultant.
Marketing strategy specialist. They're like, right, okay, cool. Whereas if I said, I'm a musician, they're gonna be like, oh, cool. Well, hopefully.
Do you go to, what's yours then?
I have no idea. I don't think I've really had an opportunity to kind of really deploy that. Okay. I've been at more events where I'm like either the performing musician or the host of the event.
Okay.
So I've not...
So you've got a reason to be like, oh yeah, I'm the bongo boy today.
Yeah. I'm the entertainment. or like, oh, I work here. So that's kind of always been my angle. I've not really...
I think you need to work on this. I think we need to go away and come up with our
we're going to have to go to networking events.
Okay, final would you rather. Would you rather go to introduce someone you've met several times and totally brain fog on their name, or walk into a room of people you don't know who are already in conversations and have to force yourself into one?
I don't like the second one. I don't like that. I really don't like that. I'd rather just forget someone's name.
Okay.
Because
you've met them a few times though.
Yeah, because...
And they called you by name to begin with. They're, hey Marcus, so nice to see you again.
Yeah, but I'm quite... Because of my sort of self-brand, I can go with a dude, I can go with a hey man, I can go with all right mate.
That's good.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm the marketing guy. So
okay, but you're introducing it to a colleague. You're like, hey, this is dude.
Oh yeah, well then you just introduce the colleague first. And you give them the opportunity to kind of present. So you go, this is Ben, meet, and you allow the person to say their name.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
That is it. I feel like that's quite a good approach.
You came up to me and were like, oh yeah, so Tom, this is... And then just looked at me.
Or if you remember what the person does, but not their name, then you could say, like, for example, I could say, Ben, meet the psychology guru. And you'd be like, ha ha ha, psychology guru, my name's Jenny.
You've got round that.
Yeah.
I love
so
it.
I think it's about time we talk about some networking event horror stories.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to hear yours. I feel like you've got better ones than me.
Not so much horror stories. I alluded to one earlier when we were at the email marketing event, and I'd literally just finished 16 weeks of dieting for a bodybuilding show. So to say that I was susceptible to sweet snacks would be an understatement. Okay. And in the hotel that we were actually in, I think it was the Hoxton in Shoreditch, they had a whole wall of pick and mix, which was help yourself.
Oh my god!
At this event,
that's how to make networking events fun.
Yeah, pick and mix, great. But no word of a lie. You know the bag of pick and mix that you get at the cinema? I literally had one of those full just at my table, and I could not stop. I literally
they cost like £100. A full bag of.
But I was just there like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever done. But I just couldn't stop, and people must have been like, this guy's actually insane.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So
but you had a good reason. You needed sweet.
Yeah. I mean, it was quite good talking. So they must have just thought I was diabetic or something.
Okay, I like that one. For this part of the podcast, you can see how festive I am. We're going to be doing our Christmas do's and don'ts. So this is at your Christmas party. What should you do and what should you definitely not do? And I'm going to start with don't get so drunk that you can't remember anything.
Yeah.
Because and I know people get excited, right? Like you finish work early, you don't have dinner. You're like, ooh, we're all going.
Slamming Jaeger bombs at half
free drinks and dinner or whatever you're doing, bowling.
Yeah, please not bowling.
Yeah, don't get so drunk that you black out.
Yeah, I think it's a big one. I think everyone knows of someone that's made a tit of themselves I think it's fine to get plastered, just don't be the first one to get plastered. Like wait till because I've actually found in my experience it's normally the people higher up the chain that actually end up getting plastered. So as long as they're plastered, you can get equally plastered.
I don't know. The beer fear is the thing to avoid the next day.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, there's nothing worse, is there, than waking up with.
Yeah, what did I do in front of the senior
anxiety?
Partner?
Yeah.
So, and then on the flip side of that, my do is do drink water.
Do drink water.
Yeah, pace yourself with a bit of water.
Yeah, and maybe eat bread as well.
Yeah.
I think just to soak up the
Good
Jaeger.
Idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. One of my don'ts. I don't really have a do for it, but I can maybe think of one. And this isn't throwing shade at anyone that wears fake tan, because I do wear fake tan, but don't overdo it on the fake tan, especially particularly at Christmas events.
Everyone's seen you all year. You've been pale. They've seen you progress from summer.
Well, you can kind of see as well, like the people who have and the people who haven't, because no one's got like their little summer glow on.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So if you've overdone it, you've really overdone it.
Yeah,
and you're really going to stand out. So
that's fair. I actually was going to say don't get too carried away with the Christmas party theme. Like if there's some sort of, come into the office and wear your festive clothes. Don't come in as dressed as a snowman.
Funnily enough, I also wrote down, don't go too hard on the fancy dress. But I think if it's your brand, if you're that guy or girl that, is known for having the kind of quirky, fancy dress.
Yeah, you should go for it. So maybe it's
embrace it and go for it.
I did say though, do share in the Christmas spirit / happiness, the joy of Christmas. And I know you're like, boo Christmas.
I just, I don't know why. I mean, I used to love it when I was a kid. When you'd be there like, oh my.
I just think it's, we're so miserable all year. Why not just have a party?
I just don't think I am that miserable all year. So then everyone not being miserable freaks me out. I'm like, why is everyone so happy? It's like there was another 364 days where you could have smiled.
Been happy, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or engaged
That's true,
in conversation with me, yeah.
Okay, so my next don't is don't buy inappropriate gifts. So like when people do like a bad Santa or a secret Santa. So I was trying to get everyone like community in the office and stuff. And it's quite a nice thing to do. Don't go buy someone a dildo. That's inappropriate.
That is making it to the trailer. Don't buy someone a dildo.
You are going to get blacklisted by HR.
Yeah, well, I think
there's all kinds of issues with buying someone an inappropriate work gift.
Sex-related gifts. Yeah, probably not, or so just wrong. Especially penis-related ones, because I think as soon as you're opening something phallic, that's wrapped up in front of everyone, I mean, if it's Secret Santa and it truly is secret,
no, don't even go there.
Don't do it. But I mean, for comedic value, if you're leaving. And
no. There's so many
I'm just trying to think of
things wrong with this.
circumstances when this is a very good
It's
thing to do.
never okay. It's
No.
never. It's the uncomfortableness. Like, you never know how someone else in the office is going to take it. You don't know who you're going to offend. So
don't get me wrong.
sorely, like
It's definitely distasteful.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Potentially very funny, though.
No. But I did say, do get a gift if you are expected to buy one. So don't be that person who rocks up to the Secret Santa
Without anything.
Oh, sorry, mate. Like, I'll just get you lunch.
But this is, again, another reason why I hate Christmas. Because if I want something throughout the year and it's financially viable, then I will buy it. So
yeah, but
at
isn't
Christmas,
it nice, like, if your colleague just, they get you, like, a new drumstick? That's cool. That's
a single
thoughtful,
drumstick.
isn't it?
This is exactly what I mean. If someone turned up and was like, "You've worked really hard this year, so I've got you a present. Here's a single
One
drumstick," I'd be like, "Great, thank you."
You're ungrateful.
So my boss actually,
I'll chuck away the drumstick I bought you.
well, one thing that was actually quite good was at my old job. My boss bought me a bag for my bongos, which was great.
See, that's thoughtful.
But
That's nice.
I think people should just, if you're doing secrets, have a list of stuff you want. But I think that's true for anyone buying you a present.
Send to all in the office.
Yeah.
Here's my Christmas list to whoever has me for Secret
Yeah, well,
Santa.
like at weddings where they like list stuff sometimes for wedding
Here's my
presents.
registry.
Yeah, but I think everyone should
Secret
just.
Santa.
I think we should normalise sending out my wish lists
Okay.
to just people, so you don't end
I
up with
love
like, oh, you're like,
this.
oh, I've got a fork that's also a sock. You're like, oh, great.
A bottle of wine. That's a classic, isn't it? A box
Yeah.
of biscuits.
I think that's a safe area though. Edibles
That
are
is,
normally
yeah.
quite good. I don't mean like I don't mean like.
That's inappropriate.
Yeah, I don't mean definitely don't do that. But like anything edible is normally okay, right? That's a safe space, I think, for the gifting, safe gifting space.
Yeah.
I think.
What more dotes do you have, or do's?
I put don't do Christmas jumpers.
Oh.
I just think you look do you not just think you just look like an idiot?
Everyone does Christmas jumpers.
I
think you just hate Christmas.
Well, I just don't like irony when it comes to like what you're wearing. I just don't find it ironic. I just think you look like an idiot.
I'm trying to think of some sort of Christmas pun that I've seen on a jumper, like drawing blank.
That's what I mean.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, I mean a hat I can just about deal with.
Okay.
It's just all the other.
You cringe when I roll that.
Yeah,
Please no.
It's just all the other stuff for me.
Okay, so I've said, don't bitch about that colleague that's been pissing you off all year after a few wines, or confess your undying love for the colleague that you think is hot.
Yeah, it's probably best to keep kind of that information to yourself.
Yeah,
I think.
not the time.
Yeah, I also think definitely don't discuss, because it can happen, right? Office romances, we've talked about this on the podcast before, it can happen, but it's a very good way of making both genders feel epically uncomfortable.
Yeah. Don't go walk over with a mistletoe.
No, definitely not. And the whole thing that you wrote about, like, someone don't dress up as Santa and have someone sit on your knee.
Oh, that was my closing.
No, I just ruined it. But that is a major ick.
Yeah, do not dress up as Santa and get someone to sit on your knee.
No,
That is the
I
main
think
thing.
If you've got a Santa, like someone attending, as like if you've paid for a Santa to be there, lap sitting if you want to.
No.
Fine.
No.
No, but if it's a stranger, so it's like
That doesn't make it any better.
No, it makes it more weird if it's the boss, and the boss is like, right, come on, guys,
No.
take a seat, time for a present.
I got major ick.
Yeah, no, it is ick giving, but I think it's less icky if it's a stranger.
Yeah, okay.
At an event.
I don't know.
I'm sort of saying this to cover the fact that this has happened before, and I have sat on Santa's lap as a fully grown man at a Christmas party. And it wasn't that bad. It was very emasculating, but it wasn't horrific. If it was the boss at the time, that would have been horrific.
I don't even have anything.
You're just imagining me just sitting there. Yeah, and it was a prolonged sit as well. It wasn't like a quick little whoop and then we're off. It was like I've sat here for too long. You know? Yeah. Big on personal space. Not keen on that. Are we ending it there? I think that's quite a good note to end it on. So there you've had it, guys. That was the work in real life.
Your Christmas do's and don'ts.
Yeah, your Christmas do's and don'ts. For the next section of this podcast, we're going to do as we always do and discuss our 30 before 30. So, Jenny, what is it for this pod?
Yeah, so these are sort of our dodgy Google list of 30 things you should do before 30. And the one related to networking and work events, which I thought was, should you have established a good reputation and personal brand in your field and or industry by the time that you're 30?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Probably before, I think.
Okay.
This is coming from someone who's like, don't want to go to events, don't like it.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, you should definitely have built like I mean, obviously I work in marketing, so I'm slightly more sensitive to the brand situation. But I think having a good idea of who you are professionally, what you have to offer to the world, and letting people know what you're about.
Yeah.
I think you should know how to do that by the time you're 30.
I kind of agree too. I kind of say yes on this one because I do think that having a good reputation is very important at any point of your life, really. Like, you should trying to be your best self when you never know when the next opportunity is going to come along and who it's going to come from. So it is important to establish that, you know, those relationships with people and a network of people that might be able to refer you on to onward jobs. So
Did we just agree on the 30 before
did.
30? I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
here we go.
Amazing stuff. Well, thanks very much for tuning in to the Work in Real Life podcast. I've been Marcus Verrell.
And I've been Jenny Winspear.
Make sure to give us a like, subscribe and a follow on all of our social channels. And if you're interested, make sure you comment below and let us know your thoughts. Catch you on the next one.